Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. A lot of free agency moves are currently happening as we are recording, but we have a lot of moves from the Denver Nuggets, who they win a lot in their drafted depth the past 2 years, and that didn't work out for them. Especially last year, lost to the Timberwolves, and then this year lost to the OKC Thunder, but they pushed it pretty far, Austin. So I like this approach, and under a new GM as well.
Yeah, and I think this GM change was really necessary. I think that the past GM is not making enough urgent moves to try to win now, and that's definitely needed in a very competitive Western Conference. And I think the West is going to be as good as it ever has been in NBA history, at least at the top, because I think there's 4 or 5 teams that I think will be extremely, extremely competitive for the number 1 seed, let alone the rest of it. And that includes with a Thunder team that's still going to be very good this upcoming year. The Nuggets trading for Cam Johnson's huge. He can defend a lot better than Michael Porter Jr. He's a very good shooter, and he has some play-making, creation parts of his game. I had him in fantasy last year, and while he did miss some games because Nets don't like to play their players all their games, and also the year before that he was injured, I think he adds a lot to this team on a much cheaper deal, which is the biggest part of it, is that Cam Johnson's getting paid significantly less than Michael Porter Jr. is.
Yeah, and I do think, along what you said, I think Michael Porter Jr., there are a lot of nights where he would go cold, and I think Cam Johnson will defer more to Jokic and Jamal Murray. That's a key thing there. And yeah, I really like what they're doing with this because Michael Porter Jr. was good for them, but you have a different player, better defensive with Cam Johnson. And then they also get Bruce Brown, who was huge in picking them up. But now I can really see more of their depth instead of relying. You talk about the past GM. I think he just wanted to. It was the right idea to go with your picks. However, those picks just didn't pan out. Christian Brown is good, but he didn't fill the void that Bruce Brown left after that championship team. So now I think that kind of puts Christian Brown back lower on the bench. And
I think Christian Brown was very, very good last year. I mean, he was their best player in a lot of their games, including Game 7. And I don't think that his role is going to be really the one that's diminished. I think that they're going to kind of split up some of those bench minutes with Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is a great player off the bench. He was during their title run. Now that they don't have KCP, I think that KCP role is Christian Brown, and Bruce Brown's really taking over a bench role that he himself was the one who was that during the Nuggets run to win the title. I think that's the role he's really stepping into. The bench was horrible for the Nuggets last year, outside of maybe like Peyton Watson and a couple other guys I thought were very decent. But I think Bruce Brown's role is going to be what Bruce Brown's role was before. I don't think he's taking over anyone else's role.
Well, yeah, it's the role that I think the previous GM wanted his young picks like Christian Brown, Peyton Watson to take over, but that just didn't work out.
Here's my problem with that, is that you lost KCP. So losing KCP, someone has to be KCP and Bruce Brown. So I think that Christian Brown was trying to be KCP or Bruce Brown. You can say either one, but I don't think Bruce Brown's role is going to be. I don't think Christian Brown failed in the objective of reaching that role. I think he filled in adequately at that role, if not better than they would have hoped for in this amount of time. Because he averaged 15 points per game last year. and he was a 5 rebounds per game and shot 40% from three. And in the playoffs, while he did struggle a little bit shooting, he averaged more rebounds and was very good in the playoffs. I don't think that's the role they were really trying to fill. I think that he's trying to be that KCP for the team, a very good defender that also has plus shooting. And maybe rebounding wise, it is a little bit like Bruce Brown, but the Bruce Brown is just coming in to be Bruce Brown. I don't think they were hoping that Christian Brown became Bruce Brown and KCP, because again, they created 2 holes. I think that maybe you thought that Peyton Watson would step into that role a little bit better, but I don't think Christian Brown was the problem. I think that he is, again, a little bit surprising compared to what you think he would be at this point. I mean, he averaged, again, 15.5 points per game last year.
Well, yeah, I bring up Christian Brown because he's someone that has played well, and it was just a lot of those draft picks where they were losing talent because of money, and I think the previous GM, his picks just didn't pan out. But now that you add in, which is kind of why they needed to make these moves if they want to be competitive, especially in a deep West, you now have a bench of Bruce Brown, Valanciunas as well. Yeah, I said Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and Valanciunas. That to me is a much better bench already with just those adding Valanciunas and Bruce Brown, because those are really the additions where Cam Johnson and Michael Porter Jr. are really a swap.
True, but I think probably the starter would still be Christian Brown, because he started the majority of the games, almost all games last year. He started 77 games last year of the 79 he played. Right. So I think that he's still going to be a starter. I don't think he's a bench piece at all. Cam Johnson will take over Michael Porter Jr.'s starting role. And I don't think Bruce Brown starts. He has not been playing well the past couple of years. I think that's more situation and injury than it is actually like his skill. I think he'll be very good with the Nuggets. But I think their bench will be Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr. for shooting. Tim Hardaway Jr. is very comparable to I don't really know if they had one on the team whenever he left, but he's just a spark shooter, someone that can get them going. He's inconsistent though, which is why he will definitely come off the bench. Jonas Valanciunas is their backup center. And then you still have Peyton Watson. So I think you're going to have a deep 9-man rotation with those 9 guys. You'll have good defenders in Bruce Brown and Peyton Watson, a good backup center in Jonas Valanciunas, and then you'll have Tim Hardaway Jr. for your bench. Spark scoring and spark shooting. But I don't think Christian Brown's role changes really at all. Cam Johnson, again, will take over that Michael Porter Jr. role and be a better, cheaper option. And I think they still try to add, because I think that depth, I think the Pacers really showed the ability to build rosters that have a lot of guys that can play. 10 guys are playing a night in those playoffs in some games. And they had 8 guys averaging 10 points per game in the finals, right? And they obviously pushed the Thunder to 7, and we don't know what would have happened. But even if they do lose that game, if Halliburton is healthy, it still shows the success that you can have with a really deep roster. So now pair Jokic with a really deep roster instead of like Halliburton. And Halliburton's a really good player, but if you do that with Jokic and still have a very deep roster, then I think you are in a very, very, very good situation. And I think that's what the Nuggets are trying to build, and I'm excited for what they're doing. The one thing I still think they need to add is a bench point guard. Jamal Murray, I don't think is a pure point guard. He can definitely be a pure point guard at times. Obviously, you have Jokic for passing, but we don't know what's going to happen with Russ. So I think if they add anyone else, it is going to be a point guard. Whether that's a Chris Paul archetype, it's an older guy, elder statesman that's still going to be good and offer that playmaking, or it's going to be a younger guy that they maybe are try to build for the future, or they trade for someone. But they do need a bench point guard. I think that's the one thing that they're missing, that is an archetype player that I think every team needs a bench point guard, because it's really hard to, like, is Cam Johnson going to be enough of a ball handler to be a playmaker / point guard X player with Jamal Murray off the court? I don't know. And I know you do have Jokic, but I think that Russ was a very good addition to the team last year. And if they try to bring Russ back, I totally understand. But I do think they still need a Russ-esque player on their roster for them to be the best they could possibly be.
Yeah, and kind of talking about Tim Hardaway Jr., he's someone that played really well with Luka, and Jokic is just another great passer. So that, to me, you get a lot with Tim Hardaway. That Cade Cunningham is good, but he's not the type of passer that Jokic is. and Luka is. So that's something that could be a key thing. And yeah, I do agree they need point guard help. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't want to get Russ, because Russ really had a career resurgence with the Nuggets and playing with Jokic. So why wouldn't he want to come back? But yeah, I'm sure there are other options. And Chris Paul still doesn't have a ring. And I think the Nuggets could be a great place if Russ doesn't work out, that Chris Paul joins the Nuggets.
Yeah, I can see them adding Russ back. The only thing is Russ is going to have to play even less minutes than he did last year, because last year he even played with Jamal Murray, and I think that he would really be filling in the minutes that Jamal Murray doesn't play. Now, if he's willing to do that, I do think it would be a reasonable addition, and I think the Nuggets are in a good spot. I mean, Aaron Gordon gets healthy. Aaron Gordon's very good. Jamal Murray, I know he has some consistency issues, but in the playoffs has been very good. Then you have Jokic and you have Cam Johnson, along with a growing Christian Brown, and Christian Brown may be even better last year. I mean, again, he's considered to grow every year. He played every game in the playoffs, 13, 15 minutes a night when they won the title. So he just continues to grow as a player, and I think the Nuggets are going to be a top 5 title contender next year.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what Christian Brown does. And I brought him up because, yes, he has grown, and I think now with a deeper bench, it really just doesn't put a lot of pressure, and he can really excel with what he can do and let him develop as he is, instead of trying to fill different roles from that championship team. So I'm really interested to see what happens. And if they make other moves, I think you should constantly be making moves, especially with how deep the West is. So that's all we have. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.